whole development. Now we get to see how difficult it is to get food. Food is a constant need, so is water. Now we used to have coupling, where you couple up with another person. If you've got a family with the other person, that kind of gives you a reason to stick with that person, you would think. And no, that's not me telling you you have to. We have an increased burden on society because we have women complaining that because they're working less, they're getting paid less. That's the fact of it. I'm not sure how many of y'all have worked in an office setting that's just men. But it's not primarily hanging out and talking about your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your husbands. It's maybe a couple of words here and there to somebody who asks. But for the most part, you're focused on the task at hand. Many of the office settings that I've been in, where it's a bunch of women, it's very much not like that. It's social hour. It becomes completely social hour. This is not a useful life fucking skill unless you're a manipulator. Talking about all of your problems and other people talking about all of theirs, but not at a work setting. I've been in settings where it's both men and women. And the problem is that it's not a woman's clothing that's a distraction. It's what she's bringing to work, which is a bunch of stuff that's not fucking work related. I've also worked with people in fast food. Women in fast food have to work like men in fast food. You don't have time for chit chat. You don't have time for table talk. So when women started saying, oh, well, we shouldn't have to cook, we shouldn't have to clean. A man should come home from work and he should cook for himself and he should clean for himself and he should stop expecting us to take care of him like a child, like a child, like a child, like a child. Hey, you have to eat too, and somebody's got to pay for it. If you want to go be the breadwinner, go be the breadwinner. But then what do? If you're the breadwinner, you demasculate the man for taking care of the kids. Stay-at-home dads. I know a few of those. They get made fun of for being stay-at-home dads. So they just don't tell people they're stay-at-home dads. We taught men that if they do something messed up, you're supposed to keep it private. We taught women that if they mess up, they just go slander the person who they fucking screwed over. It's a lot easier to do to a man than it is to do to another woman. These are the useful life skills that we've been teaching women. How to argue things that make absolutely no sense whatsoever, and be demanding and throw a tantrum until you get what you fucking want, and then call everybody else children. Say everybody else's faults. You say, oh, well, all men are brain damaged. Really? That seems awful sexist. Oh, no, it's proven by science. Really? Let me tell you something about turning 14. When I turned 14, some of the boys had gone through puberty. All of the girls had gone through puberty. Some of the boys didn't go through puberty until they were like 22 or 23. Now, that's very rare, but it happens. Now, with the whole thing about us being expected to still fulfill our gender roles while women get to do whatever they want, here's what we've taught women. They don't need to know useful life skills. How did men adjust to women not cooking for them anymore? Men learned how to cook. Like, shit stands to fucking reason. If you don't want to be dependent upon men, learn how to build a fucking house. Learn how to be a roofer. While you're doing all of that table talk, if you do that on a construction site, you are going to get yourself and others killed. When I was in Pine Ridge Job Corps Center, you know where Pine Ridge is, right? There's a famous fire up there. A lot of history. So there's this guy, Robert Salnicki. He's an idiot. He doesn't pay attention to what he's doing, and he wants to talk about what everybody's doing back at the dorms. Nobody cares what's going on back at the dorms, dude. We're on a construction site. You're going to get us killed. Knock it off. So what does he do? Well, one of the occasions, he decides he's only going to put like 1 or 2 nails into this big old piece of wood. Right? It's going on the... How do I explain this? It's a piece of plywood. It's 8 foot by 4 foot. This is what it comes in as a standard sheet. But it takes more than 2 nails to hold it in, and you have to put the nails actually into the studs. Whether you're doing an exterior wall or anything of that nature, doing a roof, it's basically the same thing as a body. You got a rib cage, and then you got the stuff that's attached to the outside of the rib cage. And then you got all of the stuff that's on the interior of the rib cage. Where your heart is. Let's consider your heart being you. Right? You got your couch or your bed, that's your lungs. You got the structure around your house. The interior and the exterior. And you got this guy, Robert Salnicki, who's not paying attention to the fact that if those things aren't attached to each other, they just fall off. Yeah, you got to attach those things somehow. But he was busy talking. And not about work. Now, another time he was carrying one of those and it went flying off because he was wanting to pick it up and show what a big man he was on top of the roof. Lucky he didn't get himself killed. He did get somebody else injured. Then he was thinking it was cool to mess around with the pneumatic nail gun. Poof, 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 poof. Eventually shot himself in his own eyeball, bouncing one nail off of another. Thought it was a cool trick. Yeah, some trick it was. So we get to see these survival skills. We get to see how men are adjusting. How are men adjusting to women not wanting to raise their own kids anymore? Men are raising them. Men are mixing formula. Men are changing diapers. Men are taking their daughters and their sons to different social events. Men are taking their kids to the DMV with them. Men are taking their kids to daycare. That's how men adjusted. How did men adjust? They learned how to do these things. And they did them quickly because it was necessary. How did women adjust? They kept on complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining until men give up their time, until the government gives up its time and its money and its resources. How did women adjust? They adjusted by working a lot less overtime and complaining they're not getting paid as much per year. Well, if you work an average of 7 hours overtime, more than the other gender, on average, that's right, on average, men work 7 hours per week, more overtime, per week. That's 14 hours for a 2-week pay period. 28 hours in a month. Men work a lot more overtime on average. Our work time doesn't get to be separated into work time and social hour. It's, hey, dude, that stuff will fucking kill you. Having a dumbass on the construction site will kill you. Having somebody who can't pay attention on the site will kill you. Having somebody who's trying to keep up with the Joneses or make everything competition. That also ends up getting a lot of materials wasted. Because while you're talking about other things, you need to remember that number in your head. Right? You need to remember the length of what you're going to cut it in your head or write it down. But of course, while you're busy trying to pay somebody else some attention, and you can see this in women's work ethic versus men's. A man will try to power through it and work on what he's doing, but he will stop and give you his undivided attention because you just won't let it be. You have to say it. You have to say it. You have to say it. It's this compulsion that you have. But see, here's the thing, is that we're teaching both men and women that we have to cater to what women want, and a man just has to man up. A man owes it to you because he was born with his equipment. He owes it to you. We get to see these gender roles, how women are now coming to men for things that a man would have come to a woman for just 50 years ago. The useful skills that stay-at-home moms had are beginning to be lost on women because they think that the government is going to take care of everything and are going to take care of everything still, because we do. Because we do. Our government caters primarily to the wants of women, not the needs, the wants. The average income in the United States is a lot lower than it was just 10 years ago. A lot lower than it was just 5 years ago. Going from an average of almost 50,000 to an average of 37,800. Yeah, that's quite significant. That's a large percentage less. What is that, like 24% less? Right around there. A whole quarter of the paycheck taken away. And the government, they keep spending all this money on police, and we give police the same rights we give women, the rights of impunity. You can do whatever you want as long as you can get them to react the way that you want them to, even if it takes months. You can threaten my life and assault me for literally years and nobody's going to give a shit. At the moment I threaten you back, yeah, then I'm a horrible person. You threaten to kill me 50 times. Get hold of the police and you call me a rat. You threaten to kill me 50 more times because the cops didn't fucking do anything. Of course, if I was to threaten you back in the same way, first thing you're going to do is call the cops and also show that you have resources that I don't. Men adjusted by learning. Men adjusted by, instead of procrastinating and talking over it, men learned how to cook food. My mom can't cook worth a shit. My stepdad, Scott, he can cook. You know, my dad, he can cook pretty decent too. My stepmom, Diane, she loves to cook. So she does most of the cooking because she enjoys it. A lot of single fathers that I know really enjoy cooking. Christopher Weaver can cook. Ron Reeder said he couldn't cook, but I liked everything he ever made. We also have everything way simplified now, don't we? We can go to the grocery store and buy what we need and take it home. I know stay-at-home moms who literally drop the kid off at daycare. And then they have the husband pick up groceries after work. And then he gets home and she complains that she's hungry. And she goes, I'm hungry. And she does the doe eyes at him. Oh, but I'm hungry. Puts her hands together and sticks her head against his chest. Oh, I'm hungry. What does he do? Cooks her some food. See, it's not just single fathers. We're used to having to cook for ourselves. We're used to having to wash our own clothes. Do you not get that? Having somebody else to help out with the chores, whether that chore is going to work or taking care of the house, they're still chores. They still need to be done. Whether it's the man that does it or the woman that does it. I know a lot of guys who run themselves ragged. Men adjusted to this rampant sexism by learning how to do stuff. Women adjusted by twisting feminism and using it as an excuse to do literally whatever the hell they want, and it's not their fault. It's always a man's fault. If you disagree with literally everything in a woman's life being a man's fault, then you will be targeted, picked on, bullied, treated as if you should be ashamed of yourself for standing up to bullies. And that is what modern feminism is. That's what BLM is too. It's a bunch of fucking bullies. You tell me I'm not giving enough no matter what. Meanwhile, you don't bother to fucking learn a goddamn thing about history. You're too busy trying to put on eyeliner and get people to fucking look at you, look at you, look at you. You want them to look at you over the other girls. You want them to listen to you over the other girls. It is a constant competition. Most of the women I know tell me that they don't have girlfriends, friends that are girls, because they're always in competition. Most of the women I know refuse to have female friends. But then, of course, what happens when they don't get what they want with a man? Turns out they got lots of female friends. If a woman asks another woman for help with the situation, she's very likely to get that help. Men don't do that. Both men and women, how do they treat a man? Oh, you just need to man up. Can't you just do it yourself? No, if I could do it myself, then I would have. But men are not fucking heard. Especially if they're broke, especially if they're homeless, especially if you can call them mentally ill. My physical disabilities are being fucking ignored. My intelligence is being ignored. My financial situation due to abuse. People taking advantage of my financial situation. Taking advantage. And there's nothing I can do about it. I get told it's my fault that these people did it. No, there are people who are supposed to be fucking helping me with this. But I'm not a woman, so they won't. They won't work with my fucking disabilities. They will only take advantage of them. And none of you care, because I'm a man. Because I am white and a man. Because I am broke and a man. No matter what, you're always going to be too busy, too busy, too busy, too busy. Well, you weren't too busy to stick your nose in somebody else's business, were you? How many mothers do I know that don't engage in those sort of activities? How many times have I gone to a playground? How many times? Many. You know why? Because most of the people who had me watch their kids lived near playgrounds. And when the kids want to go to the playground and the parents say, hey, if they do their homework, they can go to the playground. Make sure that they all go. Make sure you hold hands when you cross the street. Parents do want safe environments for their kids. When you go to the kids, or go with the kids to the park, you get looked at by a lot of the women, either A, like you're a creep, or B, like you must have something going on and you're somebody to flirt with and throw them batty eyes at. Well, I'm just not down. And I get to hear the conversations that a lot of those women have. I've never been the attractive one. I've had women that, because they had kids and because they saw me with somebody else's kids, assumed that I must be the father. That was before I grew this. But I get to hear the conversations. Always talking trash about somebody else. Even in the office setting, it's gossip, gossip, gossip. Rumors, innuendos. It's passive aggressive, but it's not passive aggressive. It's trolling for aggression. It's antagonizing. You know what? When a guy has an issue, he's taught to leave. Women are taught to leave too, sort of. If you and your man have an argument and you go running around saying that he wears girlies' undies and likes little boys, of course, up on your Facebook, you're all LGBT pride. Because why? Because that's popular right now. You want to be popular. You don't want to be ostracized like you do to men. You want to join the popular causes like LGBT. For a lot of us men, we were abused by other men growing up. Physically abused, sexually abused. Most of our physical abuse came from the women in our lives, though. Most of our physical abuse came from our mothers. Statistically, that is true as well. Women are far more likely to strike a child. Far more likely. How many times did Rihanna hit those kids? Over and over again. I made 3 calls anonymously. Nothing happened. I made 3 calls while I was recording live on fucking YouTube. Nothing happened. What does a man have to do to be heard? He literally has to break the law. Unless he has money and family support. If he's on the streets, he doesn't have either. And just like with a female rape victim who has PTSD from abuse, you know, it should be brought up in court that she has PTSD from abuse, not that she's mentally ill. You say mentally ill, and all of a sudden she's going to a nuthatch as if she did something wrong because she told on her fucking abuser. What the hell? You do the same thing to men. And you ostracize men on such a different level. On such a horrible level. And then you want to try pulling the heartstrings. You pretend that we have no emotions. And then you want to do the, oh, I'm just a girl, my kids. I'm just a girl, my kids. Lots of single fathers have learned to hide behind that too. Some of them who don't even have their kids are too busy traveling the country, getting fucked up, and complaining and being angry. And then every so often saying something like, oh, I'm tired of all this negativity. I'm gonna change my life. And then they don't. They push for about 2 weeks and things don't go right. And then they throw a fucking tantrum, get all drunk, and do something stupid. Women do this too, but women get off on it. Women are way more likely to get off on a crime. People are way more likely to give her leniency. From the prosecutor to the judge to the officers. Oh, she's a lot more likely to get leniency. A woman who gets busted having sex with a student. Busted having sex with a student serves an average of 8 months. How pathetic is that? Meanwhile, boys aren't allowed to tell on their abusers. And I've been showing you for, what is it, damn near 8 years now, what happens when you tell on your abusers when you're a male. You're talked over. You're told you just need to man up, just to ignore it, just to move on, just to move elsewhere. Treated like it's no big thing and everyone has to go through it. No, that is not true on this situation, is it? No, I've been slandered from one end of the world to the other. The Natalie Bollinger story is told in so many different languages. And you get to see how even the people who promised to help me, how they just took their dear sweet fucking time and then said, well, I don't understand. Well, you can't just let it go. I'm still being fucking abused over it, which is the point of turning it in immediately. While the evidence is still fresh, while your memories are still fresh. Instead of making it so that I have to spend most of my time recording because I can't function well enough to do anything. And rather than trying to understand that I have been on YouTube explaining that literally for 7 years now, isn't it? 6 years. Jerry Sparks helped me to set up my YouTube channel so that I could actually record. That wasn't until after Natalie was dead. Did she help me with anything else? Here's the thing, is that all of these people procrastinated, wasted time, promised me that if I did this and if I did that, they'd help me how I need. If I was a woman, they would have helped me how I need to begin with. If I was a woman, None of this would have happened. If I was a woman, then that anti-bullying crap that we learned in the 1980s and 90s from McGruff. If you see somebody being bullied, the difference between that bullying continuing and it stopping is often whether or not somebody else steps in and says, hey, that's not okay. Hey, that's wrong. When that girl hits your son on the playground, or that, we'll make it the boy who hits your girl. When that boy hits your girl on the playground, instead of telling that girl, hey, he did that because he likes you, it means he likes you. Well, you're teaching her, first of all, that it's okay to go hitting people if you like them. That's what love is. That's how people tell each other they like you, is by hitting each other. You've also taught that little boy who hit her that it's okay because you're letting him get away with it. In that situation, don't teach your kids that means that they like them. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Teach them appropriate ways. Of course, then we get into the violence thing, don't we? We get into the gender crap of who's right and who's wrong based on gender. If your son hits his daughter and he comes over to you and says, hey, your son hit my daughter, what are you going to do? Are you going to teach your son that it's not okay to hit people? Or are you going to argue with that man because he's mansplaining? Are you going to identify with that girl who just got hit? Men are taught to be far more diplomatic, but in a different way, in situations of violence with women. We're taught to be extremely diplomatic while women are hitting us in the face, while women are throwing objects at us that could kill us. But it's not okay. See how close we are to having the library be open. I think they open at 9 today. I don't have any money. I don't have the ability to take care of myself. I just found my mail key, so I have a mailbox now. It cost me a lot of money to try to get that key. I got a bunch of stuff up in the mountains, important tools that, well, here's the thing. In a lot of these situations, fixing stuff on my vehicle, it came down to whether or not I had the tools because I wasn't going to have the money to pay a mechanic to do it. I spent most of my life helping mothers out of fucked up situations that they put themselves in, only for them to put themselves right back in that very same situation with the very same abuser, usually within 2 weeks. How do men adjust? We learn. Some of us want to believe in you. But of course, when you take advantage of us like that, then you always want to pretend that it must have been about sex. No, it's not about sex. If he's really that bad, why did you go back? You play on the fact that we're supposed to believe every fucking pity party that you throw yourself. And we're supposed to drop everything at a moment's notice. When a disabled or at-risk adult is being abused, they need a friend to help turn it in right away, or they're going to be talked over. You know it. Men have a hard time getting heard by women or by police. Our guilt is assumed, and we are treated accordingly. You get to see how many women get just a slap on the wrist when they do horrible things. And of course, why is it that they always seem to have a ready-made excuse for everything that they do? Because it's all premeditated. When people are like that, it is premeditated. They already know what you're going to say. A lot of people want to tell me, oh, women, are taught differently about reason. They think more emotionally. No. It's all calculated, just like your decisions are all calculated. A man's decisions are calculated. They have to be. Whether or not he helps you has to be calculated. Is he going to get in trouble with women if he helps somebody? Are women going to gang up on him if he helps somebody? Because nobody cares if women are stalking men. Women are 11 times more likely to be stalkers than men. So we just ignore that statistic and we look at what the bias of it shows. That men are between 6 and 26 times more likely to be arrested and convicted. Because nobody wants to arrest a woman for stalking. We pretend that because women, on average, are not as physically strong as men, that we should allow them to do these illegal things to make up for it. No. Women are just as likely to kill their husbands as the other way around. However, we seem to like to justify it when a woman does it. Oh, he must have been a woman beater. He must have been this. He must have been that. You sure it couldn't have been insurance? I believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And that's not gender-based. I adjusted by realizing that I need to fight for the victims' rights. Not have it be gender-based. Not have it be color-based. If a black man and a white woman are both raped by a police officer, let's say his name is John Smith. That's a pretty average one. Let's say an officer named John Smith raped a black man and raped a white woman. Does it make any sense for that black man and that white woman to argue with each other and have a pissing contest over who had it worse? Or does it stand to reason that they should both work together to make sure that John Smith is put behind bars and never does that to another human being again? Women adjusted by learning how to run their mouths and not learning life skills. The feminist movement seems to be men should take care of everything that a woman wants, and she shouldn't have to do anything for it, except say that she did it all herself. I want to ask y'all, how many women do you know that have actual construction skills? I'm not talking about a girl who came on the construction site for 2 weeks and kind of did okay and then quit for an easier job. I'm talking about actual construction skills. I'm not asking if she can just swing a hammer. If she had to build a house, could she? Could she build her own house if she had to? Could she frame it? Could she do the cement? Could she do all the measuring and all that? Of course she could. But there's a lot of tricks of the trade. When you're on a job site, a lot of times that's what you're learning. You're learning the tricks of the trade. And you're practicing it every day. It's not just something that you heard that you're going to go spreading to your gossip group. When you show somebody how to use a saw and you explain that you don't want to take the cord and just plop it over the top of your work, that increases your chances of cutting through the cord. It's not a smart thing to do. So when a man on a construction site is telling you, hey, don't do that, or they tell you to clean something up like sawdust. Yeah, Robert Salnicki lit our shop on fire once. There was a bunch of sawdust on the floor, and he cut through his electrical cord. Didn't tell anybody, just realized, oh yeah, I did what I wasn't supposed to, and I'd been told 100 times not to do. See, it's mansplaining to Robert Salnicki too, and he's a guy. To him, it was just mansplaining. But then when the reality hit that he had cut through the cords, he also wasn't paying attention to the fact that he needed to clean up his mess, put the cord right in the sawdust, and boom, then all of a sudden, the entire carpentry shop at Pine Ridge Job Corps Center is full of smoke. Thanks, Robert Salnicki. Who knew sawdust could poof like that? When you get somebody who heard a rumor and now they think they know a better way than somebody who's been doing this for, well, Mr. Zavadil had been teaching it for like 50 years. He was in his 70s. That's right, Mr. Zavadil worked carpentry into his 70s so that he could teach people carpentry at Pine Ridge Job Corps Center. Imagine that. How did men adjust to the modern feminist movement? We found other things to do. Back in the 80s, it was popular to watch soap operas. Days of Our Lives. Dallas. Yo. That's where a lot of the jokes about moo-moos come from. Sitting around eating ice cream in your moo-moo all day watching soap operas. Of course, that's not as interactive as the internet, is it? Now you can have opinions and be opinionated and there's no consequences. Oh, that's not Chris. I don't expect him this early in the day anyway. Men adjusted to women's freedom by learning to take care of their kids themselves. I know a lot of women who have kids and still want the father to change the diaper every time. They also want the father to go to work. If there's a problem with the kid, they want the father to come home. They want the father to pay for her car and his work vehicle. See, it's not just women in relationships or women who are not in relationships. It's the fact that we as a society have taught that this is okay. When the girl hits your boy, you pretend it's okay. He just needs to man up. He just needs to man up. We have taught that there should be no consequences for women. that men should have to work extra hours to give women free things. We're taught that everything that we work for can be taken from us by a woman who didn't get what she wanted just once. We get to see how many women are bragging on TikTok and YouTube about men and the horrible things that they did to those men over such trivial things. And we all have heard our mothers tell our sisters, hey, I like him. You and him will have some good-looking kids. You like him because she'll have good-looking kids with him. Huh. So you're already putting it at your daughters, starting off at a very young age, about the having kids, making babies, playing house. But then when it comes time to actually teach those skills, are you teaching your girls that feeding yourself is a life skill? I know a lot of women who complain that men expect them to cook, and no man has asked them to cook. They don't know how to cook. I don't see how there's going to be an expectation there. If there are men who do expect you to cook, well, I expect you to cook for yourself if you're hungry and not depend on me to cook for you. If you ask me to cook and I cook, I don't do it because I owe you. I do those things because I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to give a little and show that, hey, you know what? I can give a little. You think you can give a little too? Instead of saying, oh, well, you know what? If you watch my kids for one day a week, I will help you for one day a week. Do you say that and then do it? Or do you turn it into, oh, it's a crisis, Andrew's on drugs, you need me to go over there and watch your kids every single day? You don't follow through with your end of the bargain, you don't follow through with your end of the deal, and then at the end of the day, I've gotten nothing done because you're in a constant state of emergency because you're messing around with a dumbass. And I'm not allowed to say nothing. Never trust an adult who asks you to keep secrets. Jamie Curtis wanted me to keep secrets. Amanda Daniels, aka Amanda Demet, wanted me to keep secrets. Megan Mistigatus wanted to have me keep secrets. All these people wanted to have me keep secrets, but they're constantly telling me their secrets instead of finding out what's going on. So then I know everything about them and they don't know shit about what I'm going through. I never get to tell any specifics because they're too busy talking over me. How do we teach men to help women? We're to drop everything at once and protect them right fucking now. How have we taught women to help men? We've taught them to do the same thing that men do to other men. Man up, do it yourself. Or you talk over us, want to give advice and talk about yourselves. Men are adjusting by realizing how dangerous a situation it really is. Most of us men, most of us just want to get the fuck away from all of you. We want to get away from all of the drama and all of the harm. All of the talking about the Joneses, all of the distractions, all of the changing the subject, anything but facing the actual goddamn issue and taking responsibility for your own stupidity. It's not all men's fault. Learn how to cook. Us men did. The more we do for you, the less you do for yourselves. Meanwhile, if we don't help you, what are you going to do? You're going to do the same thing that Christian did when I told him no. One night that I told him no, he decided to come down here and vandalize the garbage cans. When my stepdad told my mom no, she went out and beat the crap out of his vehicle. Smashed the windows. We've taught people to use the term mentally ill as an insult. You get to see Shea Burton. She remembers how to be nasty. She is one of the most well-practiced people I know in being nasty. When she was dating Theo, she took her nastiness out on everyone and hid behind Theo to do it. Then she wants to cry years later, "Oh, I have PTSD from Theo." Yeah? How many people have PTSD from you? She doesn't stop to consider that. I'm not a human being to her. I'm just somebody that she bullied while she was dating Theo. You're damn right she did. After she was done with Theo, though, and by the way, she didn't break up with him. He threw her away like she was a bad fucking habit. He treated her like shit, and that attracted a lot of women. He wasn't good looking. He was lumpy and chunky and kind of a hunchback. Thought his name was Shadow. Now, when Shea Burton started dating people that I knew, and yeah, that's exactly what she did. As soon as she broke up with somebody, she had another one lined up. Another sucker. And she would adjust her attitude accordingly. When she was with John Keeley, she was the nicest, sweetest thing. Meanwhile, she's got access to all these services, and so many people helped her to get to these services. But you notice, if I give her a tiny taste of what I go through, she completely flips her wig, and that's how it is with everyone. You know, when we have a problem with somebody, and we try to tell them that what they're doing is hurtful, that's what therapists tell us to do, right? How does it work out in reality? Same thing with McGruff. We're supposed to go to our bullies, and we're supposed to tell them how it makes us feel and ask them to stop. Well, then, what does that result in? More bullying. Bullies like to gang up on you, too. We've taught men that if they aren't able to keep their word, then they're liars. And if a woman wastes all of your time and your resources lying that she's going to help you, oh, she changed her mind and that should be allowed. Fine. If we're going to have different rules for you than we have for us, then you need to live in a different country from us, and we can draw a line right down the center. Pick your half. My entire life I have fought for equality that doesn't exist, and I have been treated horribly for the sins of others. Who molested Natalie Bollinger? Her dad. Who had her selling drugs for him at 13 years old? Her dad. Why did she cut on herself? Was it just because her dad was molesting her? No, it's also because her mother was ignoring her. Nobody was helping her. When did I find out that shit was going on? After she turned 18. None of you fucking care. You don't give a shit. You just talk over me and pretend like if you talked over me, then magically it makes it okay. No, it doesn't make it okay. You don't know what the fuck is going on. How have men adjusted? We have picked up all of the fucking slack while paying all of the reparations. We're doing the overtime hours. We're stuck with a biased court system, a biased police system, and a lot of man-hater groups that attack us en masse. And then nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. They're too busy fucking arguing. If a man's being victimized, it must have been his choice. He's just mansplaining. How have men adjusted? Well, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but just in the last 5 years, men offing themselves has tripled. Tripled. I used to say, boys start committing suicide at 5 times the rate of girls at the age of 15. But if it's tripled, then it's a lot more than that, isn't it? Meanwhile, we got all these free college craps that we're handing out to women. Over $100,000. It's like $120,000 a year, isn't it? On average. So these women can get free college. It's not free. We're all paying for it. If a man literally works at this rate now, 3 men have to work for an entire year without spending a single penny on themselves at $37,800. That's still not quite $120,000. That's still $600 short. $119,400. That's if they don't eat, don't pay for their rent, don't pay for the gas or utilities, don't pay for diapers, don't pay for formula, don't pay for toilet paper. 3 men working full time. With the amount taken from us now to pay for services for women, and there are a lot of services for women. There are 15 services in Boulder, Colorado for women. These are just for women, for every 1 co-ed service. And then we have the media trying to help paint all men as horrible killers. You get to see how much more often women are murdering their children than men. See, when it comes to violent murders, parents are the most likely people to kill their children, overwhelmingly. 62%. 62% of all violent murders against children, 62% of the time it's one of the parents. 31% of the time it's the men. That's true. 31% of the time it's the women. That's also true. But there's also the fact that women are between 5 and 15 times more likely to kill their children by other means. Poisoning and drowning are very popular among women. And that's not to say that men don't do it. See, that's something that we get a lot of. Oh, yeah, sure. Women are 15 times more likely to poison their children than men are. 15 times more likely to poison them. But, you know, these feminist groups, they're going to have that one guy who poisoned his kids, that they're going to bring up 30 to 50 fucking years from now. By the way, the first mass shooter in America was a woman. Imagine that. We can see on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook how not only are women not held accountable, they believe that's how it should be. We have so many women in the United States here doing such hateful things, and come to find out they're doing the same thing in India, they're doing the same thing in Australia, they're doing the same thing in Great Britain. All a woman has to do is pretend that a man might hit her. And he's going to jail and she gets free shit. That's why we have to record. But even with recording it, people aren't going to look at it. They're going to deny us the resources to turn it in ourselves. Any excuse is a good excuse. When somebody is mentally ill and being abused, somebody is supposed to investigate it, but who does? Who helps that disabled person to turn it in? Nobody. Nobody. None of these services you're paying for do that. Men and women have had to adjust differently. Women have gotten more and more pampered, gotten more and more free shit. While all we do is take the fucking shaft. I can cook hamburgers. I can cook lasagna. I can cook spaghetti. I can cook macaroni and cheese with little wieners in it. I can bake fish. I can fry fish. I can cook a lot of different things. Cooking is a survival skill that I hear women that don't have that skill complaining about to this day. I hear women complaining that many, many years ago, women didn't have the right to vote. Well, you have the right to vote. Why are you complaining? When you have to go back to how it used to be and complain about how it used to be to try to shut down a man who's going through a situation right now, you have to go, oh, well, 100 years ago, women weren't allowed to vote. Actually, 100 years ago, women were allowed to vote. We get to hear countless women on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, bragging about the horrible things that they've done to the men in their lives just because they didn't get what they wanted. Women who claim to support the LGBT community and have the LGBT flag around their face on their Facebook profile, complaining about how their boyfriend is wearing girls' underwear. I thought you supported the LGBT community. One woman, she was claiming that her ex, he kicked her out, right? So she goes running around claiming that he wears girls' underwear and that he's into little boys. That's right. She runs his name into the dirt on Facebook, on YouTube, to his friends and family. Did any of them believe it? No. 2 weeks later, she's wanting him back. Oh, I don't understand why he won't take me back. Well, you was trying to insinuate that he was a cross-dressing pedophile. That might have something to do with it. You know, you should have or could have tried for something more believable. If you'd have pretended like he hit you. And we've gotten to see a lot more of these viral outbreaks by the protected peoples of our society. Women and police beating the living fuck out of people, hospital patients, patients locked to beds in mental wards, patients who are severely drugged. What do you do about it? Not a goddamn thing. You don't give a fuck. I'm a dude, and I deserve it because I was born with a penis. Men are doing the right thing. They're learning useful life skills. A woman doesn't want to have an equal partnership. Okay, fine. I'll do all the work and she can leave. I got to eat whether I'm a bachelor or not. So I have that skill. I don't go on dating apps to try to get some guy to pay for a meal that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in the guy, but I could sure use somebody to buy me a meal. See, all these people who claimed they were going to help me could have actually helped me. They could have actually kept their word. But that's not how you treat man. No, you give empty promises. You say one thing, you do another. You try to establish power and control over them, and how did people do that? My evidence. My evidence is more important than my life. Because I don't have a life. I don't have any real friends. I have people who are going to talk over me and talk about themselves. I don't have a support network, and I can't take care of myself. And nobody gives a fuck. You're all cowards. And when you want to get angry at me and be mean to me and bully me and berate me, and I mean back, and then you whine like a mule, you know what? You fucking started it. And yes, that is a valid reason. You started it. If you start punching somebody in the face and then you whine that they punched you back, you shouldn't have been hitting them, especially not so much that they literally had to hit you back. How many of you have just watched a woman hit a man repeatedly, beat on her husband over something stupid while she was drunk? course, we taught pretty much all parents to be manipulators because it's expensive to have fucking kids. You know, I thought about that before I went running around having sex with everybody I knew. You know what the result of me thinking about it first was? I didn't go running around having sex with everybody I knew. Common sense. When a man comes to you for help, whether you're a man or a woman, the chances are pretty good you're just going to fucking talk over him. But that depends on how much you respect that person, how much you actually care about that person. Telling somebody what to do over and over and over again without finding out what's going on or what they're going through or how different it really is. Women that I took care of and that many other men that I know took care of want to tell me about how they did it all themselves. That's cute. I fight for assisted termination of life for people like me for a reason. You don't think of me as a human being, I'm just entertainment. And when you don't get what you want, I'm somebody who will either rescue you or that you can blame it on, one or the other. I'm not an actual human being to you, and none of your emotions are real. When you tell me that you care about me, when you tell me that you love me, to me, that's not a sex thing, that's not a dating thing. The people I love, I actually love. Do they love anybody other than themselves? No, they don't, and they prove that. Every time they hide behind their fucking kids. On the bright side, I didn't make you cowards. I didn't make you bullies. I didn't make you teach your kids this shit. Now you notice, when I come to my friends and family about the abuse that I'm enduring, none of them will even take the time to fucking listen. Then, of course, if I even threaten to do any of those things that people did to me, I get that thrown in my face so fucking fast. You should have done this and you should have done that. No, bitch, you should have fucking listened. I followed every bit of the training that I had as a child, those McGruff videos, the whole therapist instructions bullshit, the who you're supposed to talk to. They don't give a fuck when you have a penis, stupid. You have to have money or a fucking family if you have a penis. And even then, those people have to actually give a shit. We've taught women to be entirely superficial and to pretend that all men are superficial. But when you are presenting yourself as a superficial person, as someone who paints on a new face, paints it on with makeup, has to have the nicest new clothing, yeah, you're trolling for someone who's superficial. Not somebody who cares about you as a person, but somebody who's going to fall for a fake facade. We give boys G.I. Joes and micro machines. We give girls the easy bake ovens and dolls to play with and unicorns and all this fantasy stuff. We don't teach them about the real world the way that we do boys. Little boys got a whole G.I. Joe thing going on. Or we got to have the soldiers, right? The little soldier toys. And every guy has to have them. They have the G.I. Joes, and then they have the knockoff G.I. Joes, and we got all the shows with all the guys from World War II or Vietnam, and, you know, These are little kids' toys. Kids' toys. Not only that, but these are kids' toys where kids have literally been arrested because they had a plastic, that's right, plastic G.I. Joe gun. Less than an inch long. We throw violence at boys as an expectation, and we train them from day one that we're supposed to protect people by killing people. And then you call it toxic masculinity. But then if we're not toxic masculine, then we're a beta boy. Jesus, fuck. We literally cannot exist in a world full of women without being treated like shit no matter what we do. I'm tired of being victimized by women. And I'm tired of being victimized by men because all a woman has to do is lie, and men are expected to do something. The fact is, if you care about someone who's being abused, who is an at-risk adult, yes, when they come to you because they're being abused, you will drop it right away. You will drop whatever it is that you are doing to help them. But are you helping them how they need? Or are you trying to shame them for coming to you for help? When their predators claim in court that they never tried to get help, what kind of a shitty excuse for a human being wouldn't come forward about that and say, hey, yeah, Sean Schwartz did come to me for help. When a male shows signs of being abused, you abuse him for showing those signs. Meanwhile, as you can tell, men do try to come forward. Why are crimes against men ignored by police? Why are they ignored by hospitals? There's a change in the way that people speak to me as soon as certain parts of my story come to light. And I try to tell them what's going on. But there are just certain parts where their ears turn off and all of a sudden they are hateful and looking at me with disdain. Do you know what it's like to not be allowed to go to your own fucking court dates? To not face your accusers? To have police, mandated reporters, and professionals of every sort do everything they can to deny you access to your evidence, to deny you the right to show your evidence, to deny you the right to help that you are legally entitled to, but because you're a male. No, they're just going to run you around in circles and tell you that you have to do it yourself. I'm tired of being victimized by you pieces of shit, and all of you take part in it, because if you're not the one directly involved in harming me, you are directly involved in knowing about it but doing nothing. This is how impossible it is for a disabled and at-risk adult to actually get help when he's being abused. What happened to me when I tried to get help? Help stopping abuse. I got abused more. And all the police wanted to do was discredit me. Oh, you're suicidal? Instead of finding out why, we're just going to lock you up and call you mentally ill. You're a horrible person because people bullied you until you want your life to end. I literally attempted suicide on multiple occasions because of how the police were treating me and my friends and family. I had so many people getting a hold of me saying, Sean, people are threatening to kill me. People are threatening to kill my family. And then there's all of the fucked up situations with Shelly and Danica, two of Natalie's ex-stepmothers. Rose M. Kelly could, at any point in time, try being a good person, but did she give a shit? No, she doesn't. And she never cared about her daughter either. How do we adjust? We adjust by doing everything for ourselves, doing everything for you, and taking the abuse for all of it. When you want to go back to a dude who treats you like shit, we're the ones who take the abuse, and you're fine with that. You tell us it's our fault for helping. We should have just stuck our nose out of it. You should have just minded your own business. Well, then you shouldn't have called me at fucking 2 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, he hit me and I'm afraid he's going to kill me. I need help getting out of here now. Really. After doing that, then you want to say, oh, you shouldn't have stuck your nose in it. You're right. You were absolutely right. Obviously, you were in no danger of being beaten to death. And the next time, I'll remember that. And if you end up getting beaten to death, well, that's on you for crying wolf. That's on you for going back. Y'all know the story of the boy who cried wolf, right? Or is it always a boy? Women are far less likely to be honest. They are more likely to lie. Neurotypicals are more likely to lie than people who are autistic. But none of you care. What you care about is that I have a penis. And you show your bias. And the way that you talk to me, talk over me, the way that you treat me, the way that you change the rules, the way that you play twisted head games because you can play on the mentally ill thing, because you're a fucking coward. All of you. BLM doesn't give a fuck about the homeless. Me Too doesn't give a fuck about the homeless. The first thing my predators did was socially isolate me and separate me from human resources. That also separated me from financial resources and made it 10 times tougher to get anything done. When people want to interrupt me and say, oh, well, I'm in a different state. Fucking, I know. I'm not mentally fucking retarded. How about stop interrupting to make excuses not to try? But see, that's the thing, is that all of this is premeditated. At least I busted him doing it. Now help me get assisted termination of life legal. When you make an at-risk and disabled adult go in alone, especially if he's male, to turn in his predators, like I had to do repeatedly before Natalie was killed. Did any of my goddamn friends lift a fucking finger to help? No, they were too busy talking over me, telling me what to do, what to think, what to feel, and trying to make me fucking feel sorry for them. How horrible a person I must be. How dare I ever ask anyone who pretends to be my friend for help? Fuck all of you.